Hey guys, Matthew here. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the third and final episode of the Magic Find Journey series. So in today's episode, we're going to be looking at the actual end game, what I like to call high investment strategy. Now, this is not going to be as high investment as, some other people might consider, like wing scarabs or crazy things like that, because I don't think that those things are worth using as a solo player. This is what I consider high investment for a solo player who wants to maximize their currency per hour without getting into that realm where you're investing too much to where it's hard to recoup that money if ever you get unlucky. Now, TLDR is that this is better than the zero investment strategy and the medium investment strategy, right? This was something that I expected going into Magic Find, that the more money you put into your maps up to a certain extent, the more currency you're going to get out of the maps. And I'm not exactly surprised about these results, right? This is something that's always been the case. If you're just alking going Magic Finding low tier maps, you're not going to make a whole lot as much as if you're starting to actually invest. So let's talk about basically what are these investments. You'll see that a lot of the scarabs that I've been using actually stay the exact same. So Rusted Harbinger Scarab, now these have gone up to about 6 chaos each in bulk. So I started using Rusted instead of Polished because honestly, it gives you 2 Harbingers. You can get the King Harbingers because we're still going to be going in Valdo's Wrath with Ominous Arrival. So we're getting 3 Harbingers per map, and then you can also spawn Harbingers anyways. So you can get quite a bit of Harbingers, and then you can get the King Harbingers, which will drop you, pretty frequently Exile Shards and Ancient Orbs, Ancient Orb Shards. As you can see, I have like 29 Ancient Orbs, and the majority of that, or actually all of that, has come from these shards over time as I've been Magic Finding. So that's kind of where that's been coming from. Okay, now next we're going to use a Polished Divination Scarab. Now we're at the point where these are getting more and more expensive. Right now they're about 25C each in bulk, but even at 25C each, they're absolutely worth using. You could use a Rusted, especially if you have less currency going into this, but I would say using Polished is good. It's twice the amount of Rusted. Rusted is 50% more. This is 100% more, and it's about twice the price, or just a little over twice the price. So technically, in terms of value per money, it's actually worth it to use Polished. And then Polished Reliquary Scarab, we're kind of the same situation here. It's about twice as more expensive or so to use Polished, maybe a little bit more than that than to use Rusted, but it's 100% more instead of 50% more. And I would say that this is one that is definitely interchangeable for something like an Elder Scarab, or like even a Ambush Scarab if you wanted to. But the reason why I use Reliquary is because when I'm Magic Finding, I'm going for those big ticket items. I'm going for a Squire, a Headhunter, a Mage Blood, whatever it is. I'm going for some big ticket stuff. So increasing the amount of uniques that I get per map is going to basically greatly increase my odds of getting those things. And the Scarab kind of pays for itself. You're going to get so many pairs of Sedemas and some jewels, right? Stuff like this, for example, or like some Venters, or like a lot of just overall uniques that are going to pay for themselves. So it's pretty good. Now, next you're going to have a choice, basically. If you're good on your maps, if your map tabs look something like this, and you're like, yep, I'm okay, I don't need more maps, then I would recommend using just a Sacrifice Fragment or a Mortal Fragment, an Uber Zeri Fragment. That works too. However, if your map tab is looking really desperate, you're struggling to sustain your maps, which is a pretty common thing for T10 maps. For tower maps, I would recommend going with a Gilded Cartography. That's what I personally did until my map pool started being very healthy, because you'll see that when I talk about how I roll these maps, it's important that you have a lot of maps available to you. I even started selling my maps because these maps go for about 12 to 15C each in bulk for T10 towers. They're pretty much the most expensive map in the game. So it's pretty good to use a Cartography Scarab. As long as you're dropping a map every other map, an additional map that you wouldn't normally be dropping, this is paying for itself. And you're dropping a lot more than that, especially paired with the Harbingers. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Now, in terms of this, this is pretty standard, pretty much similar to what I was doing in the last video. What changed a lot is the actual Watchstones. I started using unique Watchstones, so I'm still using a 4% effective modifiers, so we're still going with one of those. But after that, Booming Populace, 2 Exalt for a 15 usage. I've had a lot of people tell me, really? 2 Exalt, is it really worth using? Absolutely. That's about 20 Chaos investment per map for 18% pack size. That is huge, huge value. And then this is further increased, of course, by Secrets of the Stones, right? Effective Watchstone modifiers, 25% effect on top of, upwards of 20%. That is just a lot of pack size on your map. Very, very good. So yeah. Next, we have Irresistible Temptation, which is just an additional prefix, and Territories Unknown for an additional suffix. So you're getting +1 prefix, +1 suffix, and then the pack size, and then more pack size from the effective non-unique modifiers. And all of that means that pretty much every single map I run has a minimum of about 80% pack size, and that is huge for your returns, as you will see. Now, there's one more little secret modifier on your Watchstone that you definitely want to be paying attention to, and that is pack size in unidentified maps, an additional 15%, right? This is almost just as good as the Booming Populace. Now, the downside of this is that it requires you to have unidentified maps, and I'll talk about that in a minute when I talk about how to roll your maps. But this is definitely one that you want to have available to you, Watchstone with this on it. So whenever you do get an unidentified map, or a few of them, you'll want to run the Sextant because it's 30 quant, 15 pack size. This will allow you to run maps with nearly 100% pack size, which are some of the craziest, juicy maps you'll ever see as a solo player. Even more so if you can afford to put like a Deli Orb on your map if you're capable of doing that. Crazy, crazy maps. Okay, otherwise, I mean, nothing else really changed. We're still going with Ominous Arrival, Diplomatic Escort, and Tamper Proof alongside Twice Tempted. I have dropped Spores on the Wind because it's come to our attention that whenever you have a Blight on your map, it is reducing the amount of the Scourge monsters on your map, so I didn't want to run maps with Blight anymore, so I actually went ahead and removed that. I didn't change it for anything else. And then, of course, the same old, Enduring Influence, so you can roll your own Sextants, and then Secrets of the Stones and Close Allies. There's nothing else that really matters because we're running T10 and below, so this is useless, this is useless, this is all useless. So it really is these three. Now, one thing that I will say that I haven't talked about yet is the Beyond Sextant. Now, the Beyond Sextant is a Sextant that can only roll on Awakened Sextants and above, so Awakened and Elevated. And this is a Sextant that I ran on every single map. I don't do Magic Find of high budget without this, and this is this is where a good portion of the budget actually comes from, the investment alongside the Booming Populace, because you have to buy these every 4 maps. Now, what I would recommend is rolling them yourself, right? So you can do some Sextant blocking, like I have set up here. You see I have a Shrine mod, and then 2 Sextant to add random packs of monsters. So I have Lightning and Cold here. Optimal would be Physical and Chaos, so I could actually never roll Physical and Chaos. But any sort of additional monsters is good, and then the Shrine. And then you put in the unique Watchstone over here, for example, and then you would roll that Watchstone with your Sextants so that all these things are blocked. The upside of doing that is that you will get things like Beyond and whatnot, which are going to be that you're going to use for yourself, but you're also going to be able to get Watchstones Sextant modifiers that you'll be able to sell, like Nemesis 3, Sacred Grove, Delirium Mirror. All those things are, and a lot of other ones actually, are things that you can just sell off to other players, which will recoup pretty much the entirety of your own investment in these Sextants for yourself, and then some. So basically, your Sextants are free if you're rolling them. However, I've been just buying them, so I added them to as a cost. For my own testing, because I was kind of lazy. All right, so let's have a look at what we did today. So today, what I did, let's see over here. I did the math on this. So Booming Populace, 2 Exalt every 15 maps, 20 C per map. Beyond, so as you can see here. Oh, by the way, I'll put the link in the description for all of these Watchstones and whatnot if you want to go ahead and buy some. The Beyond Watchstone sells for about 100 C or so, 100, 150 C, whatever. Let's call it 150C. For Beyond 150, so that's going to increase our costs a little bit here to 150 divided by 4. So that's about 37.5 C per map. 37.5 C per map. Right? And then the other prefix or suffix Watchstone, because you're going to buy this on either the prefix or the suffix pretty much, or Booming Populace. but for the most part, prefix or suffix watchstone. And then the other watchstone is really cheap. Booming is about 2x right now, and then the other watchstone, be it irresistible, as you can see, it's about 50C for this one. It's the same price for Territories Unknown, about 50C. So that's where that comes from, about 4C, and then you get 15 maps worth, so that's about 4C per map. The other Sextant. Now, the other Sextant is what I was talking about, rolling your own Sextant. And by other, I'm talking about the ones that don't really matter. Things like number of pack size in rare maps, or cold monsters, or lightning monsters. Anything that adds more monsters to your map, about 15C per map, because we're running Awakened Sextants. Beyond on the map is 5C. Rolling the map is 5C. I'll talk about that right after. Polished Divination card, 24C. Rusted Harby, 6. Polished Reliquary, 6. So your investment per map is roughly, well, it's a little bit more than that. Let's see. So our investment per map, definitely very professional. 37.5 plus 4C plus 15C plus, it's got 10, 34, 40, 46 plus 46. Investment per map is about 125C, let's call it, right? So it's still less than a single Exalt invested per map. Now, what I did is on stream, I started with a value on Excellence Next of 200.8 Exalt. That was the value of my stash, basically. At the end of the stream, as you can see here, if I snapshot this, I basically just finished my farming session. The value of my stash is 244.6 Exalt. Now, I had about 4x of sales on top of that from this. That was from previous items that were not part of this farming session. So I had to remove about 4x from there. So 240 is pretty round number, and I started with, well, 200. So that means that I made about 40 to 42x profit, and I ran 31 maps. Now, this is considering lucky drops. I did get some lucky drops, as you can see here. I dropped the Doriani's prototype, sold that for 3x, and Enlighten 3.5, Aventers that I divined twice for 2x, and a Greed's Embrace that had 15 quant and 50 rarity, which means perfect for 2x. So if you take these out completely, the profit goes to basically, profit with no lucky drops, 31.1x in 31 maps. So that means that every single time you do a map, well, not every single time, but on average, you are going to profit about 1 Exalt. Now, in 31 maps, I dropped 17 nurses. Some people might say that this is a little bit lucky, but when you're using this level of investment, that's actually pretty much average. It's slightly above. I probably should have expected around 15 or 16, so 17, about once every 2 maps. You'll get a nurse drop with this level of investment. And a lot of the maps are going to come from Beyond Monsters, which is where that Beyond Sextant is extremely important. Now, the time spent per map on my map watch was about 8 minutes per map, which comes down to about a 7.5x an hour. And if you remove the lucky drops, somewhere around 6 to 7 Exalt per hour if you're running maps in about 10 minutes, because you're running about 1x profit per map. So this is definitely on par with things like Nemesis 3, even without counting for the lucky drops. So very, very good. Now, another thing that you'll see in the description of the video is the string alongside the links for all of these different things that you want to buy is this string. Now, what this is basically a regex string, or a regex, I don't know how to pronounce it. And you are going to put that under here on your search bar. I know that you can't see it, but at the bottom of your stash it says highlight item. And if you put this on here, what it's going to look for is going to look for maps that have anything above 28% pack size. So that's how I roll my maps in bulk. I'm going to chisel every single map I have. As you can see, they're all chiseled. And then I'm going to Alk scour maps until I get 28% pack size, and then I'm going to val them. That's how I do it. Now, the thing about valuing them is that they can break completely, become T11 armories. In that case, I throw them away. They can stay as they were normally. In this case, they would have over 28% pack size, like for something like this, for example, 94% quant, 28% pack size. I would just run that as part of my regular maps. And of course, they can also become 8 mod maps, such as this, which has 42% pack size, which is basically almost just as good as a unidentified map. The unidentified maps are a little bit better than that, but that's what's going to happen once in a while. The map is going to go unidentified, and that's where you want to pair it with the unidentified Sextant. But this is pretty much what I did, exactly what I did actually. Booming Populace with +1 prefix, +1 suffix, unidentified when I had unidentified maps. Make sure to have beyond on every single map, both on the map device and on the Sextant for double beyond. And then pretty much the rest is just mostly polished and rusted Scarab, as I previously mentioned in the video. And yeah, roughly about 1x profit every single map. So things add up very, very quickly. Nurses are super, super common with this level of investment. And that's kind of what you can expect. Again, I don't think I got particularly lucky. I've done this before. And with this level of investment, it seems to be about 1 nurse every 2 maps. I had a map I dropped 4 nurses, and then I could easily go 4 maps without dropping a nurse, and then another map I'll drop 1, and then another map I'll drop 2, and then I won't have any for a couple maps. But it averages out to about a nurse every 2 maps or something like that, which the nurse every 2 or 3 maps, even if it was every 3 maps, almost pays for the entirety of the investment. It's close enough. So everything else is basically profit. And if you're rolling your Watchstones yourself, you're also going to make profit rolling the Watchstones as long as you do it properly with the blocks. And the cool thing about rolling Watchstones, last thing I'll say in the video, is that let's just say I was to roll a Watchstone that looks like this, Territories Unknown, that has only 6 uses remaining, despite the fact that this is an 18 uses remaining Watchstone. If I was to roll Nemesis 3 on this, it would be worth the same amount, no matter if it's 6 uses or 18 uses, because the people are just buying them for the actual Sextant, not for the Watchstone itself. They're just throwing away the Watchstone afterwards or trying to resell it or whatever. So because of that, that means that you can expand it to basically as long as they get the same amount of uses on the Watchstone as on the Sextant. If you roll something sellable like Nemesis or like Sacred Grove or whatever, they're basically worth 100% of their value, or very, very small value under what the maximum value is. So you're basically wasting no currency, and you're actually using the Watchstones yourself. So that's something I would highly recommend doing, is rolling the Watchstones yourself, which is why the links in the description will be for that. However, I'll also leave the link to the Territories Unknown and, again, the string for rolling your own maps. But that's pretty much it for my video on high budget Magic Find setup. Now, in the next episodes, or next videos, sorry, we're basically going to be starting another Zero to Hero, so hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. But again, before I go, as always, I want to say a huge thank you to my supporters. So Kat, Stan, Brandon, Tim, Scott, Axel, Thomas, Reese, Rescoro, The Great Master, Mercury, Nate, Max, Alex, Johnny, Wolverine, Hamad, welcome back, and Georgie, as well as, of course, Nailed, Alex, Kevin, the other Alex, and Bitizen. Everybody else who supported me in the past, and everybody else who wishes to remain anonymous. If your name is not on this list, it will be added shortly as the next month is coming up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.